Welcome back. Goodbyes are always hard, you know,
Yes,
this is so weird. But if you don't know, today is my last day here at KREM. I've been here for more than a decade reporting on a lot of different things.
We've been dreading this day for
a
long time.
Yeah.
All right, we thought we'd help send Whitney off by having her reflect on her time here at KREM 2 in her own words.
I still believe that TV is where people turn when something big happens. You can see this massive tree fell right over on top of this mobile home. Agencies and survivors came together here at the fairgrounds for a very different reason. You know, you can always find something online, you can always find it in the paper, you can always hear it on the radio, but there's something special about TV, and I still believe that. Even as things have changed in 23 years since I started doing this, I still believe that it's where people want to turn to watch what's happening in the world. It didn't take long at all for those 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts to knock a lot of these wooden art panels directly down to the ground. I knew that Spokane is where I wanted to be. And so I set my sights on Spokane. KREM definitely brought me home. And it is still home. It is still home. I started as the weekend anchor, and then I started doing more and more investigative reporting. Right off the bat, the strength of this case is in the numbers and in the stories themselves. You know, the Carlton Complex fire in 2014 was one of the first really big stories that I did, that I covered for years and years afterward. It was such a privilege to hear their stories, to be able to amplify it and let people know what had happened. This burned out stick is all that's left of the Welcome to Pateros sign. And I made so many trips to Pateros in Okanagan County. There are still people that I'm friends with who live there that I only know because of what happened. They trusted me to be vulnerable. That was a really special story for me. Far northeast Washington is home to more wolves than any other part of the state. There are multiple investigations that we've ended up doing that have changed lives. We opened the door, we turned on the light, and people realized that something that had happened never should have happened. This side of the state so often gets ignored, so often gets forgotten, so often has its needs placed down below everybody else. And that was why we were doing the story, because no matter how much these people shouted from the rooftops that their cattle are being eaten by wolves every other day, it didn't seem to matter. No one was listening. And so we've continued to try to tell that story because it deserves to be heard. And their side, their perspective, their loss is just as important as the people on the other side of the mountains. I've been talking to a lot of people, many people saying they just can't believe there was that much contamination for that long and that we never knew. Back in 2017, we realized that the groundwater was contaminated and had been for a very long time. So, you know, my job was to figure out what had happened, because it turned out the Air Force knew about it for a really long time.
We were well past the point of exhaustion, but we kept going and going because we're like, we need to get to a hospital. We need to get help for our baby boy.
Yeah, you do cry. I've cried about lots of stories that we've had to cover. You try to hold it together as much as you can, and you recognize that it's their experience to share, and to let them be able to do that, not to be a distraction, but just to be the person who absorbs what is being doled out, and then go back, have that emotion, break down. So we're headed up outside of Colville now. So I think back, I've told thousands and thousands of stories, personal stories, some fun.
All right, we are here on the tarmac at Manas.
They came to me and said, hey, how do you feel about going to Kyrgyzstan and helping deliver treats to troops?
Holy cow.
Boy, that was fun. And I think back, I've told thousands and thousands of stories, personal stories. Some fun, some really serious, some painful, and some that just needed to be told because nobody else was telling it. I treasured every moment that I sat here at this desk. It was a privilege, and over the years I kind of just realized this wasn't just my job. This was a special position and privilege that I got to hold on to and take care of for a while. And so I wanted to do that every single day.
We have much more coming up on KREM 2 News at 6. A look back at some of Whitney's award-winning stories from over the years.
It's so weird. I've seen that before, and it's still making me cry.
It is weird.
It's very strange.
we were talking about it, I think, last night, and aside from our families, we spend like the most amount of time with each other.
It's true.
Here,
Yeah.
right?
It's true.
So the word I came up with is irreplaceable. You're irreplaceable.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So you're certainly going to be missed. But we're going to,
Yeah, it's
remember
not
and recognize
happening yet.
Whitney in our 6 o'clock show. So stay tuned for that.
All right.
Good night.
See you there.